All right, folks, check this out. We have some major breaking news right now, insane breaking news. Donald Trump is currently going on a midday rant on Truth Social, posting relentlessly about Iran and suggesting that the United States may get involved in a broader war. I will never let MAGA live down the fact that they told us that Donald Trump was going to be the peace president, that if he got elected, there would be no conflict. The United States would not be involved in anything. We wouldn't be getting into anything. And now, just 6 months into Donald Trump's presidency, we're bombing Iran, and Donald Trump is suggesting broader war. So let me show you some of these posts that Donald Trump is letting fly right now, and you can see just how insane they are. Let's just start here, where Trump said the damage to the nuclear sites in Iran is said to be monumental. The hits were hard and accurate. Great skill was shown by our military. Thank you. Now, I would agree with only this part. Great skill was shown by our military. Regardless of the operation, they are patriots who are serving our country. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump. But the damage being monumental has not been supported by much evidence. We have U.S. intel officials, Israeli intel officials saying that the Fordow site, the main target of the operation, was badly damaged, but not destroyed. This comes after Donald Trump said yesterday that it had been completely obliterated, but obviously that is not the case. Our own intelligence is telling us something different. He posted that at 4:45 p.m., so just moments ago before I'm filming this, and he continued on this little rant, and here's where he suggested broader war, saying, quote, "It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change?" And then he adopted his four-letter slogan for Iran. So what Donald Trump is saying right here is directly suggesting regime change in Iran. This is after, again, he claimed that this would be one and done, that the strikes would not be broader, we're not planning anything further, and his own administration, members of his own cabinet, went on TV today to say that regime change was not in the cards. Like, for example, Vice President J.D. Vance, who went on Meet the Press and said exactly that. Take a look.
As you know, after an Iranian missile struck a hospital in Israel this week, Israel's defense minister said the Ayatollah, quote, can no longer be allowed to exist. Does the United States support Israel killing Iran's leader?
Well, look, that's up to the Israelis, but our view has been very clear that we don't want a regime change. We do not want to protract this or build this out any more than it's already been built out. We want to end their nuclear program, and then we want to talk to the Iranians about a long-term settlement here. We believe very strongly that there are two pathways. There's a pathway where Iran continues to fund terrorism, continues to try to build a nuclear program, attacks American troops. That's the bad pathway for Iran, and it will be met with overwhelming force. There's another pathway on the table here. There's a pathway where Iran integrates itself into the international community, stops funding terrorism, and stops trying to pursue a nuclear weapon. This is a reset. This is an opportunity for the Iranians to take the smart path. We certainly hope that they will.
Yeah, except that's the complete opposite of what Donald Trump is now saying. So he's saying that there are two paths where, one, they join the international community and stop doing the bad things that they do, or two, they continue to do the bad things, but, you know, the United States is not really going to get involved in that. And now Donald Trump is completely contradicting his own vice president, saying, well, you know, maybe regime change wouldn't be that bad. Maybe we should think about that. And journalist Sam Stein from Politico pointed out the beautiful irony of what J.D. Vance just suffered by getting contradicted by Trump. Because in 2022, J.D. Vance tweeted, quote, Joe Biden went to Europe and advocated for a nuclear powers regime change, and then 10 minutes later, his own White House had to contradict him. Seems like a big deal. Now, of course, J.D. Vance is not being completely honest about what took place in 2022, but I digress. That tweet is now compared to what we're seeing right now, where J.D. Vance went on these TV shows today, and then hours after that, Trump is now flirting with the idea of regime change, saying, oh, well, you know, maybe it's not a bad idea. Maybe we should look into this. Maybe we should make Iran great again, as Donald Trump just said. And let's be clear, J.D. Vance is not the only one to suffer this humiliation and embarrassment at the hands of Donald Trump. Pete Hegseth said the exact same thing during his press conference at the Pentagon today, saying this mission was not and has not been about regime change. Take a look.
So is regime change off the table, Mr. Secretary? And to the chairman, you said the battle damage assessment is still ongoing. But do you believe that some nuclear capability in Iran remains?
This mission was not and has not been about regime change. The president authorized a precision operation to neutralize the threats to our national interests posed by the Iranian nuclear program and the collective self-defense of our troops and our ally Israel.
Wow, ain't that something? This mission was not and has not been about regime change. And the president of the United States is saying something completely different just hours after that. And I want to be clear. What we're about to witness is if Donald Trump decides, hey, let's go with regime change. Let's just say he doesn't taco on this and chicken out of what he's saying. Which hopefully he does, by the way. We should not be doing that. But let's just say Donald Trump does chicken out. We are going to see all these MAGA influencers, creators, all these MAGA stars out there do a complete 180. Because right now, all these MAGA creators have been so against regime change. They've said we shouldn't do it in Iran. But if Donald Trump does that, goes ahead with it, it'll be the best thing ever. And you'll see people like Charlie Kirk do exactly that. He recently, in the past few days, on June 19th, 2025, said there's some confusion developing in the base right now about regime change, perhaps thanks to war hawks deliberately muddying the waters. The Iranian regime is bad. We support popular sovereignty. If the Iranian people want to bring down their government and put in a new one that respects human rights and desires peace with its neighbors, they will have our full support. But there's a vast difference between a popular revolution and foreign-imposed, abrupt, violent regime change. We learned that difference 22 years ago, and he went on this rant saying forced regime change creates a power vacuum that is filled by the most violent forces, which is a decently accurate assessment of regime change. He also said in a different post very recently, June 17th, 2025, this is insane. Regime change will result in a bloody civil war, killing hundreds of thousands and creating another massive Muslim refugee crisis. The toppling of leaders never as easy as you think. It's almost always result in further involvement, a civil war, and chaos. Resist this. And he has other posts saying the exact same thing, saying recently, again, June 17th, 600,000 people died in the Syrian civil war after 12 years of fighting, along with 6 million refugees. Regime change wars don't work. We need humility, prudence, and an honest history lesson. But I guarantee you, if Donald Trump goes ahead with this, the regime change, the make Iran great again, as he has suggested in this post, MAGA, people like Charlie Kirk, people like J.D. Vance, people like Hegseth will eat their words, but they don't care. They'll just flip. They'll become Donald Trump's biggest supporters, biggest defenders online, saying, well, no, this was always part of the plan. This was always part of the plan. Let's see if Donald Trump has said anything new. Nope, nothing new. Nothing new. He also put out this just as a fun piece of information here. He thanked the great B-2 pilots who landed back in Missouri following their mission, and he originally signed it off incorrectly. He misspelled his name. This was the original post, calling himself D-O-N-A-K-D. He couldn't spell the word Donald. He couldn't spell his own name, and then I suppose he edited it or reposted it or whatever, but originally he couldn't spell his own name. This is what Donald Trump is doing on Truth Social right now, suggesting broader war, suggesting that the United States get involved in it, and it's completely contradictory to what he ran on, saying, I'm going to be pro-peace, there will be no conflict, we're not going to get involved in anything, and now look, suggesting regime change in Iran. Absolute insanity. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe down below. It goes an incredibly long way. Drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about this story. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.